Hey, this is Howard. Who else would it be, right? Everyone wants to know which jewelry chain Elaine and David are talking about. Well, they will disclose it in this final episode of Retail Dangers on the High Seas.
Welcome to Gems of Knowledge with your host David Bellman and Justin Kroll. Each week, our experts will answer all of your jewelry questions with Rachel Putney, our social media maven, who will relay your questions to our experts. And now, here's your host, David Bellman.
Hi, I'm David Bellman, and welcome to the final episode of Retail Dangers on the High Sea. I have with me three guests. You know Elaine, Pam, and another young couple who have also had a very difficult situation doing business with jewelry stores while they're on a cruise. And so what we've decided to do as a group is we've just decided that it's, let's just call out this company and let people know who we're talking about. And the name of that company is Diamonds International. Diamonds International has over 50 locations located all over the islands, all over the world. And of course, they're all located in areas where cruise ships land. And their primary purpose of doing business is to do business with people who are visiting the islands for one reason or another, but mostly because they're coming in on cruise ships. And the cruise ships have this arrangement with groups that, of course, lead people to their stores. And we've talked about that in the previous episodes. But today what we're going to talk about is the story of now three different people, Elaine and two other couples, or two other groups, if you will, who have had similar situations to hers. And just to show that this is happening to a lot of people, and I'm going to show you some examples right now, in fact, of a couple of items that Elaine bought, in addition to her diamond ring on her cruise, that I have to just be honest with you, I can't even believe that they do this. I've been in the retail business for a long time, and this is one thing I've never seen done before, at least not in my time. And this is really kind of how you and I met each other, right? Because, Elaine, you were...
Yeah.
You had come back from the island, you had bought the diamond ring, but you'd also bought a couple of pieces from Cabana, right?
That's right.
And as soon as you got back, you thought to yourself, I wonder how good of a deal I got on these pieces. And you went off on your own, and you went on the internet, and you went to check the prices.
Yeah, and I called a few jewelry stores as well.
Okay.
Local jewelry stores.
All right. And so we're going to break it down for you. So we have a graphic that we're going to put up. We're going to show you the first item. And this is a Cabana pendant. And the first thing I'm going to start out with is the manufacturer that makes these pieces tells all of their vendors, like Diamonds International and any other jewelry store that's out there, what they want to sell this item for, what they suggested manufacturer's retail price would be, so that they're all on a level playing field. They're all starting at least at one price. And then from there, the store can discount as they please. So let's see the amazing discounted deal that Elaine got on her piece from the islands where everything is duty-free. So she saved approximately about 12 to 15%, 10% off of the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Now, while you were buying this, they were telling you, again, what a great deal you got, correct?
Yes, because we were told by the shopping guides that if we bought more than one item, that we would get a better deal. So while I was looking at the Crown of Lights, the Cabana jewelry was right across, and I'm familiar with that make, and this caught my eye along with the ring.
Yep. Okay.
So...
Yeah, so she purchased it, and she felt that, according to the jewelry store and the guides and everybody else, she was getting a great deal. You come home, you go on the internet, the first place you look up is a mall store out of Massachusetts, I believe.
Yeah.
And you look up the price, and Howard, $2,240. No negotiations, no nothing, just on the website.
Exactly. Yep. He was a very nice gentleman, and that's the price he gave me. It just blew my mind.
And then you called an independent jewelry store and asked them the price, and lo and behold, it was even less.
That's right.
And I'm not going to say exactly how much Cabana marks up their jewelry, but trust me, even with a 50% discount, there's still plenty of profit in there for the jeweler. Elaine knows this.
Yes.
So there was no issues with discounting it to this level and still making a nice profit margin on it. So all of a sudden, that 10% discount didn't seem like such a good deal.
No, it didn't. It just really bothers me when they tell you that by buying through Diamonds International that you will get a better deal, and they're able to cut out the middleman. And then when I come home and I find in the States I can get it for hundreds and sometimes thousands, a few $1,000s less,
Yep.
It's just heartbreaking.
Okay. This isn't even the worst part, if you can imagine that. So just a few days ago, as you're trading papers back and forth with Diamonds International, desperately trying to get your money back on all of this, right?
Yes.
They sent her
Yes.
some documents that she didn't even know existed when she bought this piece. And on it stuck to it was the price tag, the original price tag of this pendant, right?
Yes.
And here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just pick a number from the sky and let's just write it down, That's what they do.
I have never...
I can't see how this can be legal.
I honestly don't know if it is either. But I doubt that there's a law that says you can't, you can put whatever price you want, anything you want to sell for, and if people are going to buy it, buyer beware and all that baloney. But I've never seen anyone mark up an item of jewelry and put on a price tag a price higher than the manufacturer's suggested retail price. You wouldn't walk into a car dealership and be shopping for a particular car, and one dealer just decides to put another 10-20% on their sticker price, and as if anyone's going to buy anything from them. But you don't know. When you're there, you don't know that that's the right retail price or not.
No, because I had no intention of buying any jewelry, and when I saw this, it caught my eye, and I trusted the cruise ship and too many people. But that's the last they see of me. Trust me.
I understand. Well, it's not done yet either. There still has to be, I hope, people out there that are going to be willing to help you get restitution on this, because obviously the company's not going to do it based on the terms and conditions that you signed off on. And Howard, let's just do one more. Let's just do the ring real quick. Similar situation. Go. On this one, the suggested retail price was $2,170. You had paid $1,970, so again, around a 10% discount. And then that mall store had this piece also.
Yes.
$1,350. And then you called the local store at $1,135.
Yes.
So again, very consistent on the pricing across the board. And then the sticker that was actually on the ring when you bought it, $2,389. Still.
Yeah.
A bad situation. And of course, the reason they do this is so that when they give you a discount off of that price and they give you a 10 or 20% discount, they can say 20%, they're really only giving you 10. Makes it look like they're giving you a better deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is all about.
And at this point, didn't you have multiple free gifts associated with your purchases?
No. They gave me a charm. They gave me a bracelet. But he did offer me a ring with corite.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and he told me it was
worth... the pendant.
What did he tell you that was worth?
Oh, I don't remember.
He told me it was worth $900, and he sold it to me for $400. It was sterling silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the only thing that they offered me. But, I mean, they should have offered me a lot more.
Yeah. Well, they should have offered you a fair price, period. I mean, that's all there is to it.
All I wanted was what I paid for.
Yeah. I know.
There would be no problem if they would have just charged right. But I mean, this is terrible.
Just to be clear, the part about it that I don't like is that they have all these people on the cruise ship, these guides that are telling you what a great deal that you're going to get. So if you went into it without any expectations and you got 10% off, then you could say, so I paid too much. But I think in this case it's a little bit different, because here they're doing seminars. Yeah,
it's deliberate.
They're doing seminars telling you duty-free, save you a lot of money, you're going to get the best deal anywhere. And all you have to do is come home and turn on your computer and find out that you paid 20, 30, 40% more.
Yes.
That's the point that we're trying to get across, is that there was a lot of misrepresentations.
Definitely.
Okay, and so that's why
I don't know how they can live with themselves.
So let's go on to. Well, there's some websites that I'm going to bring up in a moment, but I think right now it's more important to bring in a young couple who, just ironically, not that they had seen anything about this on the video or anything else, they just happened to be people that were local like yourself, who came into the store, and quite honestly, when they first called me and said that they had just got off a cruise and bought a Chronolites diamond, I thought for sure, oh boy, here's a setup. They're finding out about these videos and they're trying to set us up for something. I really couldn't believe that it would happen, but I guess.
Yeah.
Yep, we're here.
Okay. They chose not to want to be on the show live or in person, and I understand that it's a bit of an embarrassing situation for them. And I, as much as you'd like to tell us the story, if you want to just kind of give us a little insight as to what prompted you to purchase a diamond while you're on the cruise.
So we went to the seminars and everything, and then we decided that why not take advantage of how cheap a diamond would be down here to get an engagement ring for to propose to her, because what better way to have her pick out what she likes. So that's what brought us into Diamonds International.
Yeah, I mean, we're college kids, so we were like, okay, so it's a good price. They're telling us all this stuff. We went to all the seminars, and they told us how awesome a price it's going to be, and how they convinced us into believing that we won't find a better deal than what Diamond International was going to offer us. So we went to a bunch of seminars, and then we signed up to go with the people who were doing the seminars because they know so much about the diamonds. And they were like, oh, well, we'll get you a special price even cheaper than what they're going to give you because you're going to get an on-ship
VIP card.
Yeah, VIP card.
Does that sound familiar, Elaine?
Very familiar to a T.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're like, okay, that's awesome. And we go and we set up a time to meet with them. And we go into the store and we look. I didn't want anything fancy. I wanted just a plain, just regular diamond.
Solitaire diamond, just one center. That was it.
And I was set on it. I was all in my heart set on just the one diamond. Okay. And we were walking through the store, and I'd seen a bunch of diamonds, the regular, like, solitaire diamonds that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about prices and things like that, and the solitaire diamonds were, like, ridiculous prices. And they're like, well, if you go with our brand, then we can cut you maybe, like, a discount. And we're like, well, let me see what it looks like. So we walk over there and we see all these diamonds, and he's telling us how big certain diamonds are. Mm-hmm. And we wanted as close to a carat as possible. And she showed us a bunch of rings, and I mean, the sparkle gets you. Okay. I mean, they cut it so like the sparkle will get to you. But as soon as you walk outside, I feel like it doesn't sparkle as much as you think it was in the store. I don't know if it's just like the way that they talk to you is so manipulative, I guess.
Like a con artist type thing. That's how I would interpret it. They're trying to fast talk you to make a quick purchase and not really think about it. So then when you do think about it and then you're there and you're in this type of situation, you're like, wow, I probably should have never done that.
I'm one of those people that always look things up, and like I regret not looking it up. But when you're on the island, you don't have Wi-Fi, so I guess they kind of have that advantage of not people aren't just going to leave the store and think about it and Google it because there's really nowhere to go to do that.
Well,
So
that's an interesting point.
It hasn't come up.
That's exactly how I felt too, because I usually research everything.
So they were really good at convincing you that like you were having the best deal ever, and you just didn't even think about it. You just were like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then they had this like monthly plan, and they were like, they have like their 50-year anniversary of
Safi Kalima.
yeah, Safi Kalima
Okay.
stone or something. And they were like, oh, well, we can do this 50-month
50?
50-month financing. So we're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, that would make it like...
It would equal like $150 per month.
Yeah, we did like the math out, and we were like, oh, that's really good.
So they take a ring that's overpriced and not necessarily what you wanted or went in there for.
Nope, not at all.
And if I remember correctly, because you had told me the story earlier, was that the original number of months that they offered you in the very beginning?
We didn't even talk
We didn't
about
even
it.
talk about the credit card in the first place, about that. But they saw that we were trying to get to a certain price, and they were trying to, I guess, help us, but in a way, they weren't helping us with everything. They were helping us so that we could buy it from them, and that's all they really cared about was them making the sale.
Sure.
So, and
Did
then
they offer you that many months originally when they first mentioned it? I think you had said they offered you a much lower number of months and then came back and offered you a much higher number.
I think when I first applied, I think it was 24 months.
Right, exactly.
And then applied, and she got 50 months.
I see.
I think that I was very like hesitant because I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted a solitaire diamond, and they really weren't gonna make the solitaire diamond any cheaper because now that I know what's going on, why would they? If they can make such a higher profit in their own diamonds.
Yes, and then also make it much more difficult for you to return it if you decided that you didn't like it.
Exactly. Yeah. So walking around, and then they're like, oh, we can throw in all this stuff, and they threw in a necklace, they threw in these like cheap little charm things that when you went to all the seminars, you got like a cheap little charm.
Yep.
And at the place you got a charm bracelet, and then they gave us like a whole bunch of charms with it.
Yep.
And like little teeny like maybe like a chip of the a gemstone in an earring.
Yeah, I understand.
So anything that they could do to close the sale is basically what they were after.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is typical. I mean, that's what salespeople do, right? They do whatever they can to make the sale. Yeah. And in your case, they had you both sign up for the credit card programs. They tried to make it as attractive as possible. And again, so what was interesting to me is that you came home immediately, and I think it was correct that you decided to, just for the heck of it, check it out.
We were sitting on the couch watching the news, and I just Googled Crown Light, and I saw a few posts about it on like the internet, and there was like
really negative.
Really, really, really negative. It was like 1 star or like half a star, and they were all saying that they got conned. They took it to, what they told us to do was take it and go get it appraised. So people were saying that they went to their appraiser, and they were saying that they got a ring for like $6,000, and it ended up being like $2,000. There's a lot of stories that people were overpaying severely for their rings.
And then, like in Elaine's situation, once you read the terms and conditions on the back of the receipt that you had signed, you realize that you can't even take that ring to any appraiser that you want to have it checked out. You have to take it to a appraiser that has been pre-approved and selected by the cruise line. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's a lady that they pay to appraise these rings, basically to lie about it. Right. And it's just we're in a constant circle of getting lied to and taken advantage of, which is really sad, because we were trying to make it special for us, because this is supposed to be, our time and the rest of our life type thing, but they really just sucked the fun out of it a little and just took advantage of it.
I'd say more than a little, because one of the things that I always enjoyed about being in this business for me personally was that you were part of very special occasions, whether it's anniversaries, birthdays, those types of things. So to take advantage of an emotional situation, I don't think is really fair, but that's my opinion. Okay, so so you came back. You had done that research on the internet, and that's how we ended up meeting each other, because you're local here.
Yep.
And we talked about Elaine's situation, and that's why I want to have you on this final show, because I want people to understand that we didn't go out searching for you. We didn't go scouring the cities looking around. You're literally, I think, live within a mile, I think, of my store, and you just walked in, almost coincidentally, as we were doing these videos.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but then Pam, my friend, and again, I was blown away, but she comes in and she says, I've got a ring that I just purchased, and I look at it, and it's a band of, was it black sapphires, I think, and another
a single diamond, small
crown of light diamond stuck to the top of it.
I think it was the box. When you saw the box before I even opened it,
yeah, the horror.
You were like, "Oh no,
not again." It is a bit surreal, but I guess that just goes to the point of how many people this is affecting. If in our small community, 3 in just the last 3-4 months, or even less. Okay, so. And you were also very upset about it, and I asked you why, and I wish you would share your story. It's a little different.
Excuse me. Yes, I in my case, I wasn't on a cruise. I had flown but I have been on a cruise, and I totally have experienced what you described, Elaine. But that's another story. Now, this was I had flown to the island, and I was actually staying on the a more remote part of the island, and really hadn't been downtown yet. And so when our little carpool of 3 women arrived, we hop out of the car, and just, it just happened to be, there was a parking spot right in front of, across the street from Diamonds International. I didn't even look up and see the sign. Yeah. I just walked in and started looking at jewelry. I had no plan. Period. Yeah. I mean, it just, any woman who loves looking at jewelry, which I'm pretty sure is a majorly high percentage of women. I'm convinced that something like happens in the brain that just removes your normal or alters your normal cognitive state, because you know better, and yet before you know it, the minute you just look at something, somebody's right there, and the salespeople are everywhere. It wasn't crowded in the store, and I looked at this ring, and I looked around at a few things, and I was trying to look at something that I thought I could afford. And so it was just a single band with the chips as we described. And he said, "Now, would you like us to size the ring?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely."
And this is your ring or his?
This is my ring.
Yeah.
And this is one of my snippets of advice for people is don't ever leave a ring that you've purchased with the store for any reason, because in my opinion, that's when the problems began. And I was not able to get back to the store to pick up the ring till the end of business closing. And it was just literally, the man was standing there on the sidewalk with the bag, and I was racing down the street because it was, they were closing. So I didn't inspect anything at that moment. I just said thank you and, bye-bye. And I got back to my resort, and I started looking at my ring, and I thought, I'll be damned. I thought to myself, that's not the same stone. And I thought I was just being like I'm being too critical. Like my expectations are too high. And I kept looking at it and thinking it actually looked like glass to me. And I asked my friends, their opinion, and they were were like, well, you know, they hadn't spent the time looking at the original ring that I had, so I knew I had a sense for the ring, and it was not the same stone. So then that took a day, and then the next day I went to a resort next to where I was staying and asked their jeweler person, you know, I said, just nothing fancy, I mean, no formal assessments here. I'm just going to ask a quick opinion. What do you think this stone is? And I handed her the ring, and she said, I don't know, but it's not a diamond. So that kind of confirmed it for me. Now, I'd been trying to reach another suggestion I have is for people to be sure they sign up, and you can do this after you arrive on an island. You can get a hold of your telephone company, and you can do this. It's better to do it at home before you leave. But you can do it once you're on the island, and that is to ask for and receive an international calling plan. They charge $10 a day so that you can, in my case, it was very helpful to already have that in place because I had to be calling, I checked out the phone number for customer service, and it was in New York. That's very handy. Yep. When you're on, I happened to be on Grand Cayman, and the first time I called, and I'm not sure yet if there were additional charges because I just haven't checked. This just happened like about a month ago, and I haven't checked the bill. But the first time I called, it was numerous. It reminded me of infomercials only on the phone. It was like, if you're interested in a new patio set, if you're not interested in a new patio set, hit pound. I think, and the products kept changing, and I think I hung up after hitting pound maybe 12 times.
For Diamonds International?
For the customer service number for New York.
Okay. I
was really disgusted. I thought, what is this, you know? And so I hung up, and for some reason, whether luck or maybe they just put on those recordings when they have to run an errand or something, but when I called back later in the day, I did reach somebody. Yep. And she was actually helpful, and I said, look, I'm not convinced I'm going to be able to get my money back, but I definitely want the store to be accountable and to at least allow me to exchange. I just knew, because I had called the store before I called customer service, and they were very defensive and told me right out, you know, that there's no way that anything like that happened, because I said, I'm suspicious something happened while my ring was at your store for the day, because I don't feel like I have the same ring. It's not the same stone. And so right away they were on the defense. So in order to be able to work with them, I decided to back off in terms of a refund and go for an exchange. Yep. And they were all lovely once that was the case. You know, in fact, the customer service representative had called ahead. Only 2 days passed between what happened and then when I went back in for my exchange, and they were ready for me, and they were lined up. I mean, there was like 3 of them I'd been dealing with, and my the salesperson who made the sales actually was there in his gym shorts and ball cap. It was weird that they apparently called him to come in. It was his day off, and they wanted him there to work me or something. I don't know, but
it's a dangerous situation when you've given somebody a ring that's not what you bought. In this case, not even real. So and they were trying to make sure that there was not going to be any repercussions from that.
I was calm. I said, you know, I'm not going to split hairs over this. I just want to look at I'm going to go back to the case, and I'm going to get the same ring, only a different one, and I'm going to take that ring with me, and I'm going to leave. And they were like, okay. So it somehow, I think when they were doing up the paperwork for the second ring, because I saw, you know, there was probably 5 of the same ring, and they were stackable rings, and so they were like several of them in the case, different colors and whatnot, and I had just chosen the black. And at some point, they managed to snag onto me when I was just kind of, you know, when you're waiting for something to happen, what do? You look at the, you know, you know, oh, is there anything you like? Is there anything I can show you? And of course, you see something that you like, and you're like mulling it over. And then my girlfriend got in on it, and she was at another counter buying something. And so they were probably thinking, yay. Well, now this time I ended up with a ring I liked, but I didn't really want or need. And I think there was a second ring, and then a necklace. All of this, and then the free, what was the stone? The
Corite.
Corite, this new stone I've never even heard of. He says, this is a beautiful stone, and he had already given me that, my original transaction.
So it seems like when people go in there, you know, they're hiring very good people. that are very, very good at selling.
Yeah.
and
they're friendly, and they make it seem real. You know, the one of the guys actually was like practically like at my feet. He said, "Oh my God, thanks to you, I made a sale today." And I think he was just getting ready to throw his arms around me, and I was like, "Oh my word!
Wow!
If it's this tough now." And what I had also done in the interim before my return trip, which again, the fact that it turned into more purchasing, I've actually brought everything back with the exception of one item, and it's on consignment here at Bellman's if anybody would like to have a look. But the whole thing left such a bad taste in my mouth, and I was so disappointed, you know. But what I did was I just Googled them. Yeah. How easy is that? So I want to say to people, you know where you are. The other thing is that when I got out of my car that day, I had no idea I was right where the cruise ships stop. I had no idea. I saw the ocean, and that was it. I mean, what you expect to see when you're on an island. And I had no idea that we were right in front of the dock for the cruise ships, which were not there that day.
Yep.
So have an idea of where you are, and if you can hook onto somebody's Wi-Fi, you know, look a place up. Definitely look a place up, because the bad reviews were all over the internet. I mean, it was not hard to find.
Yeah, and you know what, Howard, this might be a good opportunity. We did a little research of this on our own because of what there. We had done a little bit of research on this, but again, this is all in the public domain. We're not trying to bash this jewelry store. We're just telling the stories, and we're just letting people know that this information is out there. So, Howard, go ahead and just show a few. This is, kind of the gold standard, if you will. Put it in jewelry terms of reputable, companies that will, have been doing this since I think the 1920s, rating businesses for how good they do business, and it's the Better Business Bureau. Mm-hmm. And, it's right there. They have a very, very low F rating, which I'm sure if a lot of people had seen that ahead of time, probably would have given some pause to what they did. I
think they count on the fact that, a lot of times it's difficult to get internet access.
Yep. And the next one is, this was interesting, cruise reviews. And we didn't look up any particular item when I came upon this. It just came up. Diamonds International was the first one on there. And again, it was a person who's describing, again, a very similar situation to what, both you and the overpaying for a diamond engagement ring. And then there's another one, I think, that we found.
Could I mention at this point that because they mark everything up so high, by the time you get down to the price that you end up paying, it's psychological. You think you have a deal when if you were really looking at the item, you would see that it's not even close to being worth that much. This little stackable ring, it's insane.
Yeah, and this is something called a rip-off report, another site that puts up particular.
I have a complaint filed on that website as well.
Yeah, and it too. I guess you can scroll up a little bit on this one so we can see.
Maybe not. It is. It's all over the place. You don't have to look far.
Just, a little bit more. Well, anyway, there it is. Just another situation where a person had purchased a diamond bracelet, it looks like, and turned out to be not even close to the value that was stated.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people that posted reviews also said that they had a problem with stones falling out. And I mean, within a day of when they buy it, and they bring it back, and then it falls out again.
Well, the other thing, and you mentioned this, David, is that at some point with what a piece or more that I had, he said, well, this is a diamond, but it's a crappy diamond.
Yeah.
It's you can't judge cut and clarity and all of that when it's already in a setting.
Right.
And so, I mean, it was easy. It just took a quick peek, and he said, this is not a good diamond.
Well,
period.
I mean, that's something also it really takes to be an expert to be able to tell. So that's why it's important when you're shopping for diamonds. You should be doing a lot of research, and you should be looking. There's a lot of things that you should be looking for, which we won't go into in this episode, but in other episodes we've talked about the things that you can do to educate yourself, to try to learn as much as you can. But in the end, you're always still going to be at the at the will of the jeweler who's selling it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there are things that you could never pick up on with the naked eye. You need a microscope and a lot of training, so you still have to trust that person. So I want to bring, you've heard what we've been talking about, and you guys obviously are not happy. You've been trying to get in touch with Diamonds International and the cruise line that you were on. Have they been of any help to you at this point?
I mean, not really. They're kind of just saying the same thing over and over again. It still kind of blows my mind that the cruise line supports something like this, because you spend so much money to go on a cruise, and you spend so much money on the cruise that, like, why do they need that? It's just greed, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's business, and they're in the business to make money, and that they are getting a kickback. They are getting a commission from these jewelry stores when they sell this jewelry to you, correct?
Yeah, because of the seminars and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that they would support, like, make people do that.
And
on the show.
I'm sure there's other jewelry stores that are more than adequate, that are better than Diamonds International on the island in Bermuda that we were on. But they never told us about those places. The only place that they focused on was Diamonds International.
Well, Elaine had a story earlier that she had talked about. What did they tell you about going to another jewelry store that wasn't, we'll say, pre-approved, if you will, by the cruise line?
That they would not back it. If we got jewelry that was not an original stone, we were on our own.
Like it's any better right now,
like
right?
Exactly.
Does that sound familiar? Did the
they didn't like it made you feel like what did they say? They said, oh well, if you go and get this, and you guy was like, oh what do you say? If you get a loose stone, then it's easier, and you can bring it over.
It's easier to claim through customs, because you can claim it as a stone. Rather, as a ring, you have to claim through customs as it being like the whole price of the ring. So
to pay some kind of a duty or something like this?
Yeah.
Yep. So
Tax
once you
and
got
duties
off,
the ship.
yeah.
The little sheet that that you give to the customs agent to find out that we're going through customs. The customs agent doesn't even look at the damn thing; he just takes it.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not quite familiar with that. What was that?
Yeah, we didn't have to go through customs on the way back.
Depends on which island maybe that you go. I'm not familiar
probably.
with. Okay.
Well, when we went in the store, they were all, even in the seminars, they were saying how if you get a loose stone compared to like a ring, you know how you have to claim things on a customs form. If you buy a certain amount of stuff that's over the duty free, you have to pay a tax on it.
Okay,
once you get off the ship.
So the island that you were at, which says was Bermuda, correct?
Yep. So I think it's
That must be
like ship maybe that if you pass a certain amount of money that duty free, that you have to pay a certain amount of money back.
I see.
So if you buy a really expensive ring,
you're going to pay. Now, did you have to pay? Because you did buy an expensive ring. What happened in your case when you went through customs?
well,
It's okay. I think
put on it, so it was like we didn't really get questioned,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like a big thing. And we didn't pay anything yet, so we didn't have to claim it because we didn't have it.
We didn't put any money down or anything
I
like
see.
that.
So we didn't buy it.
Okay.
But the people who like buy things, like there's a woman behind us buying like a $15,000 ring, and she had to claim that herself. So like if you're claiming a $15,000 ring and that's tax and duty free, what's the tax on $15,000?
That's interesting.
I thought I thought it's kind of like the IRS thing where $10,000, if it's over $10,000, then you have to claim it. Is that how it works?
I thought that they said that you only had $800 in credit. I could be. This was the first time I went on a cruise, and I didn't even know about going through customs.
The tax and duty free, I think each person could go up to $800 without having to pay a tax once you got back.
Yeah, no, I've traveled overseas before and seen that. When you're coming out front, you're on the plane and they hand out the forms and you're supposed to fill them out and what did you buy and how much did you spend, and then they're going to hit you with it. Yeah, so I've heard that happening, and that's a little different from like what Howard's suggesting, which is like kind of like an income tax type of thing. This is a duty type tax, and it's a little different. So the levels are much lower, but that's okay. But the important part here is, and we're getting close to the end, but I think we've covered a lot of good information for people to have. But the whole point of doing this is to try to help you to try to kind of put, maybe the jewelry store I notice and other people I notice that it's just not fair with these terms and conditions that they put onto you, that the minute you sign, you can no longer get your money back. You have to go to their appraisers because you have one of their diamonds. You've written off all of your rights to going to trial. You have to use arbitration. You have to, what's the worst one of all? It was where the appraisal that they gave you means absolutely nothing, that you've taken no recourse and made no decisions based on the appraisal that they gave you, that they told you was the value of the ring, but in reality, that doesn't count because everybody knows appraisals aren't accurate anyway, even the one that they gave you. So you can't trust that one either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just as about as, and then buyer's remorse, that was the other one as well. I mean, anything under the sun that they could have found that could have made it impossible for you to return it is the part that I don't like, and it's the part that you and this going through. So I want to give you this opportunity just to kind of, say your last piece at this point and your true feelings about how you feel about this and what you would like,
Well, actually, it's kept me up at night. I mean, it's on my mind when I go to bed. I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and it's on my mind. It really makes me sick inside. Everybody wants to trust. And when you're on that cruise ship, they make you feel important. There's no reason why you should question anything. And, I mean, for there to be so much corruption and deceit, and then the fact that the Better Business Bureau gives them an F rating and cruise lines are disregarding that totally, to me, it's criminal. I call Diamonds International and the cruise lines, and in this case, I'll call them out, Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
I refer to this experience as being conned by Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's exactly what they are. There's they don't care. As soon as you walk out that door, they know they're never going to see you again, and you're stuck with a bill that, in my case, I have to pay for 24 months. And it's a significant bill, too. And I think about it and I say, geez, I could have bought a car for this.
I understand.
And what was going through me. But I was a victim. And I know I'm not the only one. There's many, many, many more people. There have to be thousands for you to get so much negative reviews on the internet. Yeah. We just have to inform everyone that that's going on a cruise or going on an island to stay away, resist temptation, and buy from someone that's reputable, someone that you know.
Yeah, and I think, we're not going to throw all the jewelry stores under the bus on the islands, but, just look at the paperwork. That's all. Just flip over the terms and conditions and just try to understand what it is that you're getting into. Because did you happen to even know that there were terms and conditions on the back of your receipt and what any of the information that was there when you were on when you picked up your ring?
It's so light writing on the back. So when they do the receipt, they rip the top off and you get the yellow piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's all very, very light and you can't even really read it because it's like the second of the original.
Yeah, it's a carbon, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't really even understand what it says unless you really under a light, looking at it. It kind of hurts your eyes.
Wow, that's a good point. It is. I noticed now that you're saying that, I did notice on the back that it was printed, even though the letters seemed kind of large, but they were in a very light ink.
Yes.
And very,
Like, you can't read it at all. It's
right.
I didn't read it until you pointed it out to me.
Yeah.
I didn't
When
read
I
it
bought my
either.
jewelry. It's
Yeah, no, I mean, let's face it, and we talked about this before, that, we all buy things and we're all given these sheets with the terms and conditions. None of us ever sit down and go and read through all of them. But that's one of the things that people need to do. You need to be an advocate.
Purpose.
Yeah, but in your case, all you want is your money back, right? I mean, you're not...
exactly. And I mean, they've offered me in exchange for something else in the store. Now, after looking at how much they mark jewelry up, why would I want that? Yeah. I don't want that. I just want my money back. They cannot be trusted. And they say, well, you should bring it to one of our appraised jewelers. Well, we've already talked to someone over the phone, and we know the story with that. So that's not going to help either. So
and then
all I want is my money back. This is not paid in full yet.
And you have any closing thoughts, anything you'd like to let people know, and what your feelings are at this point, what you'd like to see happen?
Our feelings are like we can never get back that moment type thing. We won't ever have that again. So it really hurts us because we only plan on doing this one. We only plan on doing this once. So it's
took
like
the fun out of like the best moment that's supposed to be in your life. Like being engaged, you only want to do that once, and they took everything out of it.
Wow.
Putting people off like
at
that, like
at the time.
That's horrible.
At the time we were there, we were so excited and everything, but after learning everything about this business and about everything about them, it just sucked it all out of us and just drained us from it, and it's just not.
You're keeping the ring that you didn't want, correct? Because
I don't feel like exchanging it is really going to help, because why would I want to exchange it for something?
no, I know. I just feel awful that you'll be looking at that, because you're right. It's supposed to be a wonderful experience. I don't know.
When people
That's sad.
When people go to ask us, like, where did you get the ring? What is it? Everything like
now
that.
They're gonna be embarrassed. Like, they're gonna Google it. Like, Diamonds International is the worst place to buy a ring. Don't buy it.
So what we have to do now is completely lie to our families, lie to our friends, everything like that about this ring. So we're keeping up with one huge lie.
You could sell it and try to, no.
It's hard to sell.
You sell it, it's kind of it's.
that is really sad.
Nobody's gonna want it.
And then we're on the hook for whatever the difference is between.
Oh God.
And we're two
college students.
college students that don't.
We can't afford to
work that. We work, but we're
like the same kind of thing. Like, that could have been like a down payment on a house. Like, that could have been like the start of our future, and now we have to look down at this ring and feel like it's like, wow, what a waste of money that was that we could have saved to put towards something else.
Well, I know that there probably isn't much that we can do other than kind of pull on the heartstrings of these companies that are doing this and making them realize that there are some real consequences, that it's just making decisions like this, doing business like this, then handing it off to their employees to deal with it, and then not have to hear the real consequences of what real life people have to go through. Again, I've been in this industry for a long time. This kills me because, there's nothing in it for me other than the fact that situations like this ruin it for everyone in the jewelry industry. Because now you look at every jeweler, but like you said, don't ever leave your jewelry in the store anymore. Keep an eye on it. Follow it through the store. Make sure they're not going to switch stones on you. How does that make me feel as a jeweler who is trying to be reputable? And you have all these fears now because
this is because people trust you, and because you're been in business here in Manchester for years. I mean, and I bought my husband and I, we got my engagement ring here, and ever since then this is, if I have questions, problems, and or concerns, this is where I come.
Well,
but I understand for people who don't know, who don't have a jewelry store that they trust. It's hard enough at home, and when you're away, it's just essentially impossible. I did discover if you're going to be at a resort where if you're a friendly person and you get to know people at the resort, I did find that by the end of the week, I started talking to a few of the staff about my story, and more than one said, including somebody really, I don't know if he was the owner there or what, but everybody said, if only you had waited till later in the week when you got to know us, we could have given you a recommendation.
Right.
And that's hard to do on a cruise ship because, the staff you must think, oh, they're all in this together. But if you're on land and you are going to be in a resort for a period of time, that's my final recommendation, is to maybe wait until you've been there a reasonable period of days and, talk to staff that you trust at the resort.
It's all about shopping around, right?
Yeah, see if they can advise you. Because I just went in cold turkey and didn't have a clue. So
yeah,
and I know better.
Well,
Wow.
I do too. So don't feel bad.
No, we all
That
do.
is good advice.
No, and I don't want any of you to feel bad because, again, you're all good, trusting people. And, we shouldn't have to go through life questioning everything that we come into contact with. I mean, it would make for a very miserable existence, right? And that's why it was important for me to take away from the regular show that I do for the Gems of Knowledge and separate it out and do this, because I've only heard this story about 1,000 times. And now with a way to put it out to the public, I thought this would be a good opportunity to, at least, if nothing else, document it, let you tell your stories, and let the chips fall where they may. But, these stores and these cruise lines have done this to themselves.
I appreciate the opportunity, David, and I really say thank you, because I didn't know when I came to you that day, I was just crushed, and I'm embarrassed, but not too embarrassed to try to tell people, give people suggestions about how, what I've learned. Because that's the only way, that's one of the ways we learn, is to hear other people's stories, and before we go through it ourselves. So thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I want to
Giving
thank you
people
also.
hope.
Well,
You spent
thanks.
a lot of time with me.
Well, what would make me really happy is if Diamonds International, these cruise lines, stood up and did the right thing. And all they need to do is just get in contact with you folks and, just make right.
They have no heart.
Yeah, just make the situation right. And to, going forward, try to be a little bit more transparent with the people that you're doing business with. I mean, this is all we talk about in business today. I'll give the millennials credit. If one of my son's a millennial, they're all about transparency. No hidden costs, no we're lying, no fooling around. They like to tell you lay all the cards on the table and say, this is what we're doing. Yeah, we want to make a profit, sure, in business, but here's how we do it, and we're going to keep it open, and we don't want to, be hiding in the background and doing things like hiding, terms and conditions on the back of receipts and so forth. And that's what I would like to see happen in all of this, is for them to come up and step up and take care of you, take care of this young couple. Your situation, at least, they had really no choice. Thankfully they did that for you. But
my regret is the money that I spent that I didn't need to, and that was of my own doing. So but Elaine and also and your husband, that's really, really tragic. Your situations.
Yep. That's my hope for all of you and for everyone else who's watching, that if nothing else, that you watch this, you're now educated, and then when you go there, at least you can make a more informed decision, and that you have, again, transparency as to what's going on, who the people on the cruise ship are representing, and what exactly is happening, what the consequences potentially could be. And after that, it's up to you to make your decisions. And like the lawyer said, we looked over the contracts. It's still, in the end, it's up to us to be buyers beware. I don't think anything that they did was necessarily criminal. It was just
maybe not illegal, but morally and ethically wrong.
Well put. Right. Well, again, thank you for being courageous and coming on, because I know it wasn't easy to have to come on and talk about these things after the fact, because it is embarrassing. I know that it is. And I appreciate you joining us as well and telling your story. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I really think something good's going to come out of this, and we're going to hope for the best.
Yes, I wish you both well.
I do too.
Thanks.
You guys too.
Hope we get through this.
You will.
There may be many more people stepping up to the plate, and that's what we need.
That's all. You're not
Yep.
alone. That's the most important thing to know. And let's hope that, like I said, the cruise lines just step up in the stores and do the right thing.
I hope someone in that company has a heart.
We'll find out soon enough. So thank you all for being here. This is, like I say, the final episode of this. We hope that this was informative for you. And I feel 100% better knowing that I had an opportunity to get this out into the open myself and, help others in the process. So thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.